South Park's 27th season just dropped its third episode, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, but it seems as though the show has entirely lost its Tegridy. Tegridy Farms is gone. After a couple of episodes of more biting political commentary that made major waves, this week they probably made a smart call in crafting a more character-focused episode driven by Randy. Of course, it definitely still fit in plenty of that biting political and social commentary, and made sure to feature the new Saddam model of Trump once again. As usual, there is plenty to go over, so let's dive into South Park Season 27, Episode 3, Sycophancy. And hey, if you like this breakdown, I'm going to cover every episode this season, and I have a ton of other South Park videos across the channel, so consider subscribing. I am so glad the South Park streaming debacle is more or less over now, but you never really know when things might get messy again.
Yes and no, because today I was reading the House Democrats are demanding documents related to the Skydance and Paramount merger. So remember that the South Park drama was that Paramount had a handshake deal with Stone and Parker. And then with the incoming merger, Skydance was like, whoa. We're in charge of programming here now. We're in charge of like these deals. We didn't agree to this. And so it was like, it was only a couple days, I think. But it looked like potentially South Park was going to be, to no longer be with Paramount as it moved into this merger. But the deal went through for like X billion dollars, and on the other side of things was this lawsuit going back to Kamala Harris's 60 Minutes interview. And Trump claimed that CBS, which is owned by Paramount, deceptively edited this interview during the 2024 campaign, during the election. And so Paramount decided to settle this lawsuit for $16 million. And a lot of legal experts were like, that's weird because this lawsuit seems like something they could have easily fought. So why are they settling this? It seems as if it could potentially be a bribe, as if this is a way to try and make good with Trump and with, his FCC in order for the $8 billion merger to go through. So now House Democrats are demanding documents and internal communications related to the federal approval process behind the $8 billion acquisition. Frank Pallone and Jamie Raskin made the request in a letter Wednesday to David Ellison, who is the Nepo baby son of Larry Ellison, and he is the current chief executive of what is now known as the Paramount Skydance Corp. In the letter, Pallone and Raskin raised concerns about how Skydance secured approval of the merger from the Federal Communications Commission, which is the agency that has regulatory oversight of the media industry. The two lawmakers pointed to Paramount's decision to pay $16 million to settle a lawsuit from President Donald Trump. CBS denied Trump's claim. The payment has been designated to go to Trump's future presidential library. The settlement raises significant concerns that Donald Trump demanded and Paramount paid an illegal bribe, a $16 million payment to the president in exchange for merger approval from the FCC, calling Trump's lawsuit meritless. Paramount Skydance spokespeople did not immediately demand an email requesting comment on Pallone and Raskin's demands. The White House and FCC also did not immediately respond. Pallone and Raskin highlighted comments that Trump made on his Truth Social platform where he said he anticipated receiving $20 million more from the new Paramount owners in advertising, PSAs, or similar programming. Skydance has denied allegations of bribery from Democratic lawmakers and other critics, including Stephen Colbert, who blasted the settlement as a big fat bribe days before the network announced it was canceling his show. Throughout its history and during the review of the proposed acquisition of Paramount, Skydance has fully complied with all applicable laws, including our nation's anti-bribery laws. Yeah, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. Pallone and Raskin also took issue with Skydance's pledge to hire an ombudsman who will review complaints of bias at CBS News and the company's decision to scrap diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. So let me just, I know we've talked about this a bunch, but let me just explain why this is so important. Because Trump has been waging a war on institutions, on media, on people, individuals whose speech he does not like. This is the guy who is all about, he's Mr. Free Speech. He ran on making America free again. All of this, being against censorship, being for freedom and free speech. And of course, his actions have been anything but free speech. And this is a bad thing. This is a bad thing in a supposed free and fair democracy. That if you are the president of the United States, you can utilize, you can abuse your power in order to silence your critics, in order to silence speech that you do not like. And seeing all of these companies, private companies too, having capitulated one after the other to Trump is pretty worrisome. Having made pledges of diversity, equity, inclusion just a couple years ago, and now walking that back and being like, oh, yeah, no, we're going to get rid of that, where they are making decisions as private companies based on the will of the president of the United States so that they don't have to worry about, say, funding being withheld. They don't have to worry about invoking Trump's ire. It's not good to have one person, Trump, wielding power this way.
This week's episode seemingly ending the Tegridy Farms arc, the South Park headline is definitely going to make a bigger splash within the fandom than it is in the general public, unlike the preview episodes. And with this only being the third of 10 episodes airing every other week this year, I think dialing things in to have a bit more focus on, well, South Park characters was a smart move. But I thought this one had a really strong balance too. It wasn't like it entirely lacked that political and social commentary. The beginning of this season seems to be taking on a bit of a serialized light quality, like we saw in seasons 18 or 21, sort of bridging some of the things that were featured across many episodes, but not directly leading each episode into the next one. Since the last episode had a major focus on ICE, this one started with Randy's Tegridy Farm workers all being hauled away by ICE. And this all feels like a very Randy dilemma. Obviously, this guy isn't up in arms about ICE for any empathetic human rights reasons. He's just mad because they're taking his Mexicans.
Stupid ICE! They took my Mexicans again!
But even at the very top of this episode, they start to tease the potential.
It's kind of the same energy of it's why, like, I tweeted that thing that went viral where I said we don't value immigrants for their hard labor, for the labor that they provide. We shouldn't be fighting for their dignity and, their rights because of what they can, because of what they add to the economy, but because they're human beings and should be treated as human beings. Because a lot of times people, and I think they don't always mean wrong. Sometimes they're well-intended, but they will frame their support for immigrants. They will chastise the actions of Trump and his administration, but in a weird, immigrants work hard and they are, they're doing the jobs that no one else wants to do. What's the classic? Hold on. Kelly Osbourne. Oh, this is a classic if you've never seen this.
If you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
Oh, that's no.
In the sense that,
no.
You know what I mean? When I'm saying
there's more jobs to be
in LA, they always...
Oh, that's not... I love this so This is one that I quote all the time too. Because Kelly, like, she thought she was cooking. She's like, listen here. Who's going to clean your toilets, Donald Trump? Oh, I mean, in the sense that.
But
They don't-
Latinos are not only the only people
I didn't mean
doing
it like that. Come on. No, I would never.
One more time.
If you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
I'm so dead. This right here. Who is going to be cleaning your toilets, Donald Trump?
Oh, that's no.
In the sense that,
No.
you know what I mean? Like, when I'm saying that
There's more jobs to be
in LA, they always.
But
They don't-
Latinos are not only the
No,
only people
I didn't mean it
doing
like that. Come on. No, I would never.
Oh, no. Oh, that's not. No. Well, in a sense that. Oh, come on. I know. Yeah, that was one of those, like, thinking you're being woke and being outwoken, where it's like, that's not what you think it is. Slime Bagel, thank you for the 21 months. AMS on John, thank you for the tier 1. Perpetually Awkward, thank you for the prime. I sort of get what she's saying, but wow, did she do it badly? Yeah, like, you know the point she was trying to make, but
End of Tegridy Farms. I mean, tell me where I've heard that before. I thought they were faking us out for sure. But as usual, Randy is sort of the Matt and Trey surrogate in the conversation, while the rest of the Marshes take on the role of much of the audience. I love when Sharon tells Randy that this was his dream and never theirs.
You guys never told me that.
Yes, we did.
I'm sorry, but I still think it's funny that South Park fans have complained about Tegridy Farms for like 7 years, and the show has mostly just mocked them. Let's put a pin in this, because obviously it's a big part of the end of the episode, so we'll talk a lot more about it later. Side note, did y'all notice that
Yes,
this puzzle
a
Stan and
rare-
Shelly are
a
doing
rare
is Casa
morning
Bonita?
stream.
It's not exactly the same, but they actually do have a super similar puzzle available at Casa Bonita's store. This episode was basically set.
people here in Georgia are so giddy about immigrant suffering. I want to bang them over the head with how much their lives are improved. Yeah, and it's just like, man, this is your community. These are members of your community. You fucking
centered around
piece of
Randy
shit.
desperately trying to pivot Tegridy's business plan to prevent him from having to give up the farm, utilizing ChatGPT to guide him every step of the way, and bringing Towelie along for the ride. I genuinely loved the tech pivot, renaming it to Tegridy and lambasting the fact that nobody understands a single thing modern tech startups even do anymore.
By harnessing AI, we've transformed from a quaint farm into a platform for innovation.
And in a bit of a jab at Elon Musk, Randy and Towelie's tech pivot also comes alongside a new ketamine habit. Not only did I find this pretty funny, but this was our first example of Matt and Trey repurposing a premise from that season 27 trailer that was full of fake clips that they released back in April. Obviously delivered very differently, but it definitely showcases that the stuff they came up with earlier in the year isn't entirely off the table. So I feel like a Diddy episode is pretty likely at some point, but more importantly, maybe we'll get that
Probably.
Butters air traffic controller episode. I think this episode's biggest strength is the way it tied its social and political commentary together thematically. The bulk of this episode is centered on Randy overly relying on ChatGPT, something they seeded in the first episode of the season. Obviously, they had a big ChatGPT episode in season 26, which was over 2 years ago at this point, but
I do, going back to the, like, what the hell do a lot of tech people even do? I kind of feel like that's so true, where, I don't know, for most people who are not tech literate, not in the world, there was almost like this way of, it's kind of this ability to bullshit, to bullshit as a quote unquote tech bro, as, you know, as somebody like, you know, oh, I've got this tech startup, like blah, 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 blah. It's speculation venture. Yes. And I feel like that has started to burst. I feel like the kind of tech people, speculation, venture capitalists, it's not as it's like maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like that's not as lucrative as it was. That you can't like there's still plenty of grifting and bullshitting. But I think when the tech billionaires took a stance this election and signaled that they are backing Trump's administration because he's in power and he's doing things like making the tech industry less regulated, giving them things that they want. I feel like there's been more of a souring towards the tech industry, even as we're still being ruled over by this new class of tech oligarchs.
AI's use and the way people rely on it for so much has truly grown exponentially since then. Hey, I mean, some people can't even write their South Park videos without it. And this episode is entirely driven by
I passed a brick and mortar business yesterday that was labeled Virality, making market solutions. And like, dude, that is a nothing burger. Like, what is that? Making market solutions? That honestly, that just sounds like something ChatGPT would spit
utilizing
out.
ChatGPT to do just about everything for him. First, he tries to use it as a marriage counselor for him and Sharon. Then it gives him a whole new business plan to save Tegridy Farms. Hell, it even breaks into an ICE detention center for him. But the social commentary here is clear and twofold. One, people are just absolutely overly reliant on this technology to an alarming degree.
Yeah.
For some people, every single decision is run through AI, basically eliminating any need for problem solving or critical thinking.
Yeah, it's really interesting to like kind of looking at things where there is a like distaste for these billionaires, but also people being very over reliant on the technology that they are serving us up. And it's like this fracturing of, okay, so you recognize these tech billionaires they're not good, right? And nobody elected them, and yet they have a lot of power, but we are still not really assessing our over-reliance on the tech tools that they have sold us. People are so fucked day to day that the idea of a shortcut to ease, some of that is hard to resist. Yeah, and I mean, look, it's also these tech companies making these products addicting. They are, they have stolen our data. They continue to steal our data, and then these algorithms are personally tailored to the users based on our data, and so they are designed in a way to in a way to get you addicted, to keep you addicted. Someone like Elon Musk and Zuck are not representative of actual good engineers and scientists who want to do good. I would never say that they are. I mean, I think when we talk about tech bros, when we kind of use that shorthand, slang, I think like the assumption is that we're talking about, there's a very specific person that comes to mind. It's like Elon Musk. Elon Musk stands. No, Elon Musk is not an engineer. Elon Musk is a billionaire investor. So no, I would never equate actual, engineers and scientists, a lot of whom get into technology because they want tech to help make the world a better place. Like I was just listening to an interview with somebody who was at MIT in the tech department and ended up writing a piece about the head of the tech department's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and how they were accepting, there was like money that was exchanging hands and being funneled through MIT's tech department. And the girl who's being interviewed, who's like the whistleblower on this, she's from Kenya. She got into this because of her desire for social and economic change. So I get it that there is obviously there's a separation between these overlords, the heads of these massive tech companies, these billionaires who are like in charge now. I saw a bumper sticker on a Tesla that said engineers made this car, not Elon.
It's a big yikes. And 2, the way ChatGPT is programmed, it's just sucking up to the user and telling them what they want to hear. Hence the title's play on words, Sycophancy.
Hey, so what's a sycophant?
This actually comes on the heels of the most recent ChatGPT release, GPT-5, that actually dialed back its more friendly demeanor. And would you believe it if I told you that people didn't actually like that? They want their computers telling them they're special little guys. And so of course all of Randy's terrible ideas are continually enabled by ChatGPT, and I thought it was pretty smart commentary to liken this to a classic sycophant, before a nice hard cut to all of the corporate suck-ups bringing Trump Hussein gifts to curry his favor. And obviously this idea didn't come from nowhere. Just 2 weeks ago, Tim Cook gifted Trump a 24-karat gold bar, and earlier this year there was a lot of discourse about the $400 million Boeing 747 Trump accepted as a gift from Qatar Airlines. Both gifts were referenced here in the episode. I also appreciated that we got a couple cameos from some of the billionaires the show has lambasted in the past, including Zuckerberg and the massive-brained Bezos from season 22, who is of course designed after the aliens from the original Star Trek pilot The Cage. But yeah, this was just a really tightly written episode on a thematic level, and the way it tied these two sides of the story together narratively was all through Towelie. Basically, Randy sends Towelie to DC so he can also curry favor from Trump Hussein, basically attempting to lower weed's drug classification federally. And this entire sequence is just Mr. Towelie Goes to Washington. It's pretty great. They just do a full-on homage to the 1939 classic Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, recreating the montage as Jimmy Stewart arrives in DC. They use the same music and parody many of the big...
and like, what is the symbolism there too when you look at our nation's capital and it's just overrun with the National Guard and with ICE. You look around and there's just federal law enforcement everywhere.
His beats of the montage with a few key differences. For one, Towelie
like just beating the shit out of or arresting homeless people.
Towelie's version is just caked with military presence
Literally
due to Trump's recent
occupied
takeover, bringing in tons of National Guard to our nation's capital. They pretty faithfully recreate the moments at the Jefferson statue and the Lincoln Memorial, though this time their faces have all been fully Trumpified, and both are once again showcasing what little he's packing. Pretty funny how persistent they are in showcasing this every episode this season. That's that good old Matt and Trey stubbornness I like to see. I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny to see people concerned that this was going to be a Towelie episode, but I really think Vernon Chapman's performance as Towelie is always so funny. And he had some absolutely killer line deliveries in this one.
Wow, this is gonna be so easy!
I genuinely just loved seeing Towelie jaunt through occupied DC, wowed by everything he sees. And Mr. Towelie Goes to Washington wasn't even the only fun movie homage we got here. Towelie's actual meeting with Trump went full Return of the Jedi, with Randy in the Luke Skywalker role. Honestly, it's pretty funny that even in their relatively subdued Star Wars homage here, they liken Trump to a monstrous slave-owning mafia slug. They even make him do the Jabba laugh. They're really committed to just directly comparing Trump to any unflattering thing they can think of this year. And if you've seen Return of the Jedi, I'm sure you knew where this was going. Randy gifts Towelie to Trump. It's clear that with the reaction the show has gotten from the White House and those that they've been lambasting in the current administration, South Park wants to keep prodding. And this week, I think they did a good job naturally tying this into the story at hand, whereas last week I felt like it maybe was a tad more forced. And they also seem to be doing something interesting with this storyline that feels like it's leading somewhere, at least with these last 2 episodes. I talked a lot in my last episode breakdown about how strange and abrupt that ending felt, and this week's didn't feel as abrupt, but it did feel just as ominous. Earlier in the episode, it seeds that Satan is pretty desperate to get out of this relationship and escape the White House, but it ends with him telling the newly enslaved Towelie that that isn't going to happen for either of them. And this also makes me wonder...
He literally... he uses an Apple sex toy in this episode, which of course is mocking Tim Cook and also by proxy Mark Zuckerberg for the bribes that they have given to Donald Trump.
About last week's ending as well. Obviously,
Yes,
we saw
Satan
Mackie and Clyde
deserves
make
better.
it to the plane, but we never actually saw them escape Mar-a-Lago. I'm now thinking this might have been intentional. Are all of these characters being imprisoned or trapped in one way or another, and will this come into play later in the season? Again, it definitely feels like these aspects are leading somewhere. Okay, let's talk about the real ending though. The ending that fans have seemingly been waiting for years. The way Randy's story wraps up here is facilitated through Sharon, which I really loved to see. Obviously, she gets the absolute brunt of Randy's foolish Tegridy Farms behavior, and after she realizes that ChatGPT is just enabling his terrible ideas, she co-opts ChatGPT's vocal style and demeanor to get Randy out of his combination anxiety spiral K-hole.
We have to sell the farm now just to be able to eat.
No problem. Would you like me to start laying out some exit strategies for you?
But it really does seem like this is it. The end of Tegridy Farms. After teasing and mocking the end of it so many times before, the Marshes have actually packed it up and sold the farm. It's truly the end of an era, and honestly, though I know so many fans are stoked about this, I'm kind of sad to see it go. Tegridy Farms officially lasted from October 17th, 2018 to August 20th, 2025. Nearly 7 years for 32 standard episodes and 9 specials. I definitely understand that Tegridy is sort of a monument to Randy trending towards main character status, and I think that is a valid complaint. But I think the complaints that the stories were one note or repetitive were a little overblown and kind of surface level. Over this era, the show had a major variety of stories facilitated through Tegridy Farms, and I found a lot of them to be really fun and inspired. I feel like now that it's over, it will probably be looked back on a bit more fondly as time goes on. I think I'm going to do a bit of a retrospective on the era within the next month or so look out for that. But even as an honest fan of Tegridy Farms, I do think it's fair to say that it had run its course. And I think it's particularly hard to argue with how and why they've stamped this moment in time as the end.
Right now,
I honestly, this might be a rare moment of Trey Parker and Matt Stone not digging their heels in, because like, okay, there are plenty of shows and networks and whatever creative professionals who take into account responses from viewers. Like it's not always something that falls onto deaf ears. But when it comes to the South Park guys, they not only don't give a fuck what people think, a lot of times they'll just double down if people don't like something. But I think integrity dying, I think there's a lot of symbolism there, but also the fact that they are skipping, they're not doing an episode every week. They usually work at a very breakneck pace where they have 6 days to make, the next episode. And instead, they are skipping weeks, seem to be taking more time with how they're crafting out this season. I don't think it had anything to do with viewer feedback. The farm just fit more into their quick turnover format. They wanted a short schedule. The farm's leaving because now they have more time. Yeah, but I guess I think they're responding to how fucking high the viewership is too. I don't know, maybe not, but South Park is it's having a major resurgence in viewership. I mean, the Kristi Noem episode was the highest viewed episode in years. So it does seem as if they are taking that into consideration, that they are clearly people are appreciating, are enjoying the 27th season.
There's just no place for Tegridy.
Too true, Randy. But the Marshes' move back to South Park does leave a lot of questions. Can Randy just go back to work as a geologist, or will he have to find a new job? And will that be part of the story for the rest of the season? It seems as though they're just going to move back into their old house, but what about Tolkien's family? They still live on Credigry farms right across the street from Tegridy. Are they going to write them back into the main part of town, or are they just going to stay at Credigry, maintaining that connection to Tegridy farms? It also makes me wonder how many of the other series developments they might decide to start walking back. They already found a way to keep Garrison in town instead of moving him to the White House. PC Principal has transitioned to Power Christian mode, but will they still keep him on the roster? Will Principal Victoria make a return? Honestly, PC Principal is way funnier. I hope he sticks around. And while I love Randy, I do hope the retreat from Tegridy means return to some stories focused on the four boys. Honestly, the best way for them to open the 4th episode of the season would be a classic boys at the bus stop shot. I feel like we haven't gotten a good Kenny episode since like The Scoots, which was actually just one episode after the very first Tegridy Farms episode. Let's get some Kenny episodes in here. Regardless, with where this season has gone through its first 3 episodes, I genuinely just have no idea what to expect for episode 4, and that is pretty exciting. Obviously, I expect some Trump Hussein stuff again, but generally the direction of these episodes has, to some degree, surprised me every time. We of course have another 2-week wait till the next episode, so season 27 episode 4 will release on September 4th. Keep an eye out for that. But I want to know what you think about not just this episode, but the entire Tegridy Farms era. How do you feel now that it's finally over? And make sure to stay tuned.
Okay, anyway, anywho.